The Interrobang podcast is brought to you by Simply Financial. Flex on your ex-bank with up to $700 from Simply Financial. Visit simply.com today. Conditions apply.
So hello and welcome to the Red Couch Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Harrietha. So it is Black History Month. We're about a week in, and Fanshawe's got a lot going on. So who better to tell us all about what Fanshawe has going on than Fanshawe's anti-racism and inclusion specialist, Troy Townsend. Welcome to the podcast, Troy.
Thank you for having me, Ben. Thanks for inviting me today. I've got a lot to talk about, so I've got my laptop with me because I had pages of information, and I didn't want to trust my memory.
No, that's perfect. I mean, like, it shows that you're prepped. That's what we love to see on the podcast.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So, for any viewer or listener who doesn't know us, could you just introduce yourself, I guess, first to the audience?
Sure. My name is Troy Townsend, and I am the anti-racism and inclusion specialist at Fanshawe College.
So what does that job entail as the anti-racism and inclusion specialist?
Yeah, it's a lot. I can begin with, I'm basically the first point of contact for outreach and intervention for any students who are experiencing cases of discrimination or bias on campus.
Mm-hmm. And so that you're the first point of contact for that, and is that all that there is to the job? I assume not, because there's always more to the job.
No, absolutely not. I can give you the whole list. I can run down
Let's
all
do
the
it.
duties.
We got all the time.
Okay. So since I started this role in July, so I'm 6 months in, I have been attending and participating in lots of student outreach events and activities, starting with the Pride Parade in July. Mm-hmm. And then I found that the more outreach and exposure that I have with students, the more the students are actually reaching out to me. So then my student caseload is becoming busier and heavier, which is a good thing, but it also indicates that there's so many actual cases of discrimination happening on campus.
Of course.
Yeah, so I have a busy student caseload, and I either advocate for students in a variety of equity-deserving issues, or have been able to refer them to other further resources or assistance outside of the college or within the college community. I serve on the EDI and Anti-Oppression Task Force. I've run a number of social media campaigns for diverse dates of significance each month, hosted some events like the Transgender Day of Remembrance on November 17th and the National Day of Remembrance of Violence Against Women on December 6th. I've partnered with other areas of the college to bring some events together. I've hosted a new video series called EDI Talks. You may have seen it. It's released on the portal each month. I do a different topic each month, and I discuss issues like Islamophobia, multiculturalism, disability, anti-Black racism, and I've invited campus guests to speak on a panel with me. I myself have been invited to give presentations in classrooms or to programs on EDI-related topics. I talk about dimensions of diversity, cultural competencies, campus inclusion, 2S LGBTQIA plus allyship. I've participated on panel discussions, and I've been writing, always writing so much content because everything's new. I'm creating it, so I'm developing all of these pieces. And in addition to all of that I do on campus, I continue to serve on a couple of committees outside of the college community where I network with other folks who are all working on equitable social justice issues.
You're right. That is a lot.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's a lot compared to what I do. So you said you were hired in July, so a little over 6 months, which is, first off, that's fun. I was hired in August, so we've been working both for the college around the same amount of time. How are you feeling about the position, kind of 6 months in?
Sure. So just to clarify, I am new to the role, but I'm not new to the college. Oh. I have been here since 1984, so since probably most of the viewers before they were born.
A little before my time.
Yeah, so I have worked in 9 different areas of the college, but most extensively, I was almost 20 years with tourism and hospitality. I was part-time faculty and the academic advisor for tourism and hospitality for many years, and then left the college for 5 years. I left in 2015 and came back in 2020, right before COVID. So I was put into lockdown with everybody else and kind of made myself available to do what could be done. And I was spread out around the college in areas that needed help. And then this position was created. So I found my home base, kind of. Yeah. To answer your question, how do I feel going in? I feel really good about it. I'm loving what I'm doing. If there was ever a perfect job that was created for the perfect person, this is the job and I am that person. But it does show me how much work needs to be done.
I imagine, yeah. It's almost like you talk about how many caseloads you get as for students, and it's almost like your work is almost cut out for you in a way of like what you got to do. And it's kind of a shame that you have so many caseloads,
Right.
but obviously, at least we can help those, like you can help those people out as best to your abilities. So you said you've done a whole lot of stuff. Where were you at in that like 5-year period between Fanshawe and Fanshawe, I guess?
Yeah, that's right. So great question. So about 15 years ago, it's almost 20 years ago. In 2004 to 2006, I was working up in Disability Services, it was called at the time, and I worked in the Trust Center, and that began my journey of advocating for students with disabilities. So in 2015, I was offered a full-time job as a program coordinator with Hutton House Learning Center, which is a resource center for adults with disabilities. And I created a training program, a hospitality training program to place students into hospitality field. I had a 100% placement rate. The program was extended a little bit. And because it was a government contract, the contract ended.
Right.
And I was out of work for about 6 months. And a former student that I had sent out to Royal Roads on Vancouver Island contacted me and told me about a job opening that was there and said, you should come out here. And I looked at the posting. It closed that night, but because of the 3-hour time difference, I still had time to get my application in before it closed. And I got the job. I went out there 2017, 18, and 19. And it was a life-changing experience. The motto at Royal Roads is life-changing, and it really did change my life. And then I came back here, I think, more equipped to handle roles of this nature.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And you said it was out in Vancouver?
In Vancouver Island, Royal Roads University on Vancouver Island.
Wow. That must have been a pretty big change.
It was an amazing experience. I lived and worked in the middle of the Pacific rainforest. So Royal Roads is set in 53 acres of national protected heritage rainforest. So it's a national park. It's built on Indigenous land. So there's lots of government agencies that are involved in it as well, because municipality, because it's a school, but it's federal because it's a national park, and the indigenous leaders are in charge of it as well.
That is the coolest thing ever, actually.
And that also began my journey in learning about indigeology and the Indigenous ways of knowing and learning. And when I came back, I was also on, I also took a course and became a safe space provider there as well. So like I said, it was all these little pieces wrapped up together, my work for advocacy with people with disabilities, just being Black by nature, and the lived experiences that I've had learning about Indigenous ways of learning and knowing. It just, all these different pieces just seem to fit.
Yeah, it's everything came together to be like where you are in the position you are now. It all came together perfectly.
Exactly. As life sometimes does.
Exactly. That's how it happens, So what does this position I guess mean to you? You kind of mentioned that you're a Black woman, obviously, and so I wanted to, what does this position mean to you personally, I guess?
Yeah. It's almost like my swan song. It's very fulfilling, for sure. And if I can leave and retire in this position and know that I'm kind of leaving a legacy behind where I don't expect to be affecting immediate change in this role, but perhaps by the time I retire, some changes will be in place and policies will be in place that start to affect change. So I think that would be like my lasting legacy for Fanshawe, because I've spent most of my adult working life here.
Yeah. So you'd obviously, you'd want to have you want to hope you have an impact on it, and I hope so too.
Thank you.
So what are you most proud of so far? What have you done so far? It could be, as your position as the anti-racism and inclusion specialist, or it could be anything at all in your entire career. What have you done that you are I am proud that I did that?
Does it have to be work related?
No.
Can it be personal?
It can be personal.
So I'm most proud of my 3 children. because they are amazing human beings. They're amazing individuals. They're all adults now, and they're each so unique. They're all very musical. It's a very musical family. My daughter is a teacher. She teaches art and music. And both my sons are professional musicians, and one went to MIA here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're just great people, and it's neat to have a relationship with your adult children once they grow up. Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah,
I haven't had that experience quite yet, so
no.
We'll see.
I'm sure, but maybe with your parents, maybe your parents feel the same way.
I hope so.
I'm sure they do.
All right, and so I guess here's the big one. Can we get an insight into what's happening for Black History Month at Fanshawe?
Oh, lots going on, Fanshawe. Lots going on. So the EDI team is very pleased to be in a position this year, after we've come out of COVID lockdown, to expand our activities on campus with a lot of different events to commemorate Black History Month for the first time. And we're excited to advance our anti-racism efforts a little bit further with all of this exposure. Our EDI team will be hosting our series, EDI Talks, for the month of February, and will feature a panel of Fanshawe guests who will join me in a discussion around the importance of Black history in Canada. The EDI team will also be reaching out with 4 calls of action, 1 action for each week of the month. The first one going out on Wednesday, February the 1st. And these calls to action will represent ways that the whole Fanshawe community can be involved in opposing anti-Black racism, allyship, and support. And it will include links to articles, video shorts, documentaries, things to do, local sites and resources around town.
Perfect.
Yes, there's more.
There's more.
So that's just the first 4 things. We've also partnered with the Library Learning Commons to bring a few on-campus activities between February 3rd to the 24th, and students will be able to go into the library and engage with their interactive display. They've got a Black History Month display. They've also started a Reading Week challenge for Reading Week. The librarians selected a book that is entitled Shut Up You're Pretty by Black Canadian author Tia Mutoni. And there are prize giveaways for students who enter the challenge. The library is also going to host an online zine for students who are invited to collaborate on. So you can put your entries in, and also a button making machine that you can create some funky buttons with anti-racism slogans, and students can also learn how to play dominoes. The final thing, we're going to culminate with a very exciting event. We're happy to join with the FSU to present a Black History Month guest speaker event on Thursday, February 16th in the Oasis from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Black historian Heather Reynolds will speak about local Black history in the Southwestern Ontario region, which is actually very rich and diverse and detailed history dating back hundreds of years. Local anti-racism advocate and life coach Jennifer Slay is our keynote speaker. The event is free, it's open to everyone, and we're just asking folks to sign up on the Eventbrite link. We're very fortunate that both of these speakers were available during a busy month, so we snagged them and we're excited to bring them. You can watch for all of these events on social media posts and announcements that are dropping like every week all over. Check the 4 platforms. The Fanshawe radio station 106.9 EX is also going to be blasting out some information. The Eventbrite link to register for the speaker event and the link to enter the reading challenge will also be on the social media posts.
Perfect. That was a
lot.
That was a lot. It was a great summary, though. I understand exactly what's going on now.
Great.
Perfect.
Great.
How is it planning all this kind of stuff? Because I imagine it's a lot.
It's fun. It is a lot. Yeah, I've worked pretty much every weekend in January so far. So it is a lot. I will be getting some downtime when this is all over. But I love doing this. It's in my nature. I'm a grad of the hospitality program as well. That's why I was teaching in it for almost 20 years. So yeah, I have done this extensively before. So yeah.
It's all in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like it's
new skills. No. Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect. And so I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Why is Black History Month important, not just to Black students, but to all Fanshawe students?
Yeah, because Black history is Canadian history. I like to tell people it's true. And if you just think about how many aspects of your life have been influenced by Black culture, music, sports, art, it's everywhere. So why not learn about it? Why not learn about the history and where it comes from and what the origins are?
Yeah, and I imagine Canada has like a very different history with when it comes to Black history as opposed to somewhere like America.
Exactly.
And I imagine we've got our own unique history because sometimes as Canadians, you know, we get almost a little Americanized, and everything kind of goes, you know, a lot of people assume that we have the same kind of history here.
You nailed it, and that's really true. I try to keep the content for this month very Canadian focused with a Canadian lens because, like you said, it's a very different story than our US counterparts, or even in other places like Europe or even in South Africa, that they have their own story about Black history.
Yeah.
So Canada's is quite different. It's not necessarily as different. Like there's a lot of the same themes involved in the struggles and the resilience and the oppressions, but the story is, this individual stories are different. And that's what people need to learn about. Like for instance, I've got a link in one of the posts that will be going out about Jean Augustine, who was the first woman of color to make it to the House of Commons. And she was actually the one that started Black History Month in Canada in 1995.
1995?
Yes, right? Like, where have we been? Yeah, so we played catch up for a little bit. So, yeah.
Wow.
And I believe in the US, Black History Month started in 1979.
Wow.
So she was advocating for this and put a motion through the House of Commons until it was accepted. Yeah.
That is, I would have never thought it is that recent of a thing. Like that's only 6 years before I was born. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So there's so much history that's been lost or not even known about. So for instance, I don't even know if you know that London is home to a fugitive slave chapel that just got moved, and it was down the street from my house in Old South London, and it just got moved this fall out to the Fanshawe Pioneer Village. London's Black History Coordinating Committee was applying for funding, got approved from a government sponsor to refurbish and resettle out at the Pioneer Village where it belongs. So it's a piece of history. It's like this was a very.
This happened last time too.
Oh dear.
These automatic lights, perfect. There we go.
Do we just keep going?
Yeah,
just
keep
keep
going.
rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was a very integral part of London's involvement in the Underground Railroad, and the Slave Chapel was a destination on the railroad path, as well as Chatham and Dresden, all these areas in southwestern Ontario that were part of the Underground Railroad. Uncle Tom's Cabin is a historic history site and museum that's out just past Chatham, Ontario. A lot of people don't know that. So lots of rich history here. Yeah,
and because I mean, like when I took history, and to be fair, that was back in like high school in grade 10. A lot of that stuff, like the Underground Railroad, and like a lot of it was just kind of broad strokes. You know, a frame of it. I never knew stuff about like that. This was like a destination
here
for people. Like
yes.
I think it's good that we're trying to teach people, specifically I think not only Canadian Black history but local Black history.
Exactly.
This is local to London. Like this
That's
is
right.
You know.
So I don't know if you know, out in Westminster Ponds here in London, there is the meeting tree. It's a 600-year-old willow tree that was actually one of the meeting places on the Underground Railroad. And everybody identified the tree because of its size and its shape.
600 years old. That's got to be massive.
It is. It's quite massive. Go take a walk out there. And if you are into nature and want to have a nature hike, that's one thing you can do to call to action.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm new to London, so learning all these things is like I'm loving it. Sorry, perfect. And can we get like a look forward into the future for anti-racism at Fanshawe? Like, what's planned for what are our plans for this year, I guess?
Yep. So there are a few things in the works, lots of planning. But like I mentioned, as I get busier with student cases, I realize that I might have to balance my workload. I will continue to do weekly, sometimes daily social media blasts and posts. I will continue to do an EDI talk each month with a different equity deserving topic. One thing, like I said, that I'm noticing is how important this work is. And it's disappointing that I'm so busy because I have to give some things up in order to handle more student cases, which is my priority. If we continue to grow at this pace, then I might have to redistribute some of the workload and shuffle things around. But at this time, I can say we are working on a number of things, new things to come out for the next year. We're working on training modules to roll out to the whole college community. Eventually, I'd like to roll out a language guide to introduce more inclusive language to campus and remove some of the stigma around words that are misused in our vernacular. Next year, I hope to showcase some different equity deserving groups and come up with more ideas for bigger events like I'm doing for Black History Month. Mm-hmm. One thing that I would like to acknowledge, though, is all this work. I mean, I've said a lot and I've given you a lot of information, but it might seem that I'm working alone. And even though I am in this role alone, I am not working alone. I have a lot of areas and partners and partnerships around the college, people who have been so encouraging, enthusiastic to come out and come forward to assist me with the work I'm doing. RBM have been a real delight to work with, and they're always on board with some of my ideas, no matter how ambitious they may seem. RBM stands for Reputation Brand Management, which is Fanshawe's like corporate communications area.
Yep.
And the Institute of Indigenous Learning. I've worked on 3 separate events now with our friends there, and they've all been quite successful in terms of meaning and impact and how they serve our Indigenous colleagues. The Library Learning Center has a great team, and they bring a lot of value to the work I'm doing with their ideas. And the FSU, like things like this, collaborating, some fun experience work with my very limited knowledge of how to roll out events here, and you folks have been very helpful.
That's what I love to hear.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I can confirm I've been to a couple of the events. Like I was at the Orange Shirt Day, and it was great. So, yeah.
Oh, you were there.
I was there. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I was covering for the paper, so yeah, I was there. But it was a great event. And you guys, it felt like good. Like it was a good event.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say it in any other way than that.
Yeah, working towards reconciliation can be hard. It's a hard discussion to have. But, and that was the first event of its kind. So hopefully looking forward, it will lead to more.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. And you mentioned, you put out posts on social media almost daily at this point. What is the social media so that people can follow along with it?
So I believe, it comes out from RBM Corporate Communications. Mm-hmm. And I believe they put it out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, the 4 usual platforms. Yeah.
So it's just
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll put that in. All right, perfect. And is there anything else that you'd like to add before we go finish up?
I just call on everyone who's watching to maybe get involved for Black History Month, and it's not just about 1 month, but it's like I said, Black history is Canadian history, so it's like the work is to be done every month. Show your allyship, get involved, read, learn. I've got lots of links and information, and come out to some of the events, and contact me if you want to volunteer for anything, because I'm always looking for student volunteers.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me. This has been a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have.
I absolutely have. Can I just give you my email address too? So if students want to contact me, it's very simple. It's edi@fanshawec.ca.
Perfect. edi@fanshawec.ca. Just to repeat that, make sure people get it twice, get it stuck in their head. All right, perfect. So, and thank you guys for listening to the podcast or watching the podcast. Follow us on all of our socials to keep up with what's happening with Interrobang and the Red Couch Podcast. And for the Red Couch Podcast, I'm your host, Ben Harrietha.
The Interrobang podcast is brought to you by Simply Financial.